Good evening and welcome to our revamp of Crib Convos. My name is Camille Evans, and I am so glad that we're back. And we're back with my first guest, my brother, my
Yes.
friend, the legendary Daddy-O, rapper, entertainer, performer, soon to be author, because I'm throwing that on you, brother, because it's
Oh,
time.
the book is done. I just need to edit it.
Okay, amazing. You see how I didn't even know, but
Yeah,
I
the book
know.
is done. I don't know. I be dragging my feet sometimes.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. It pushed me to go for this doctorate that I started like pushing myself. I'm such a procrastinator. Happy New Year
Yeah.
to
Me
you and the
too.
family.
Happy New Year to you. I'm trying to change that this year. I think I come to some conclusions that it's a hard pill to swallow, but I'm gonna deal with it. I think it's a few things I got to do on my own. I'm so used
Okay.
to like either having an assistant or a handler and all of that, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it's
It's
just
hard to
not
do
working.
yeah, it's hard to do things on your own. It really is. You know what I was thinking? How long we know each other. So we started working together when in 96, 97. When was MCA?
It was 90, I think it was 95, but if it wasn't
Oh,
95, it was 96. Because it
oh,
must have been 95 because the records didn't start. Rougher and all of them, that's all 96.
okay.
So
Yeah, because
we was working together, and then I think the next year we did records because when we first got there, we
we
had
didn't do
For Example and all that craziness that to deal with.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I never asked you because MCA was my first plunge into music label wise.
Right.
I
Hmm.
had
Hmm.
started at Sony Columbia with Ashley Fox, and then
Right.
we moved over and she took me with her. But was that your first like label from entertainer to label or no?
No, yeah, it was my first label job. I didn't even expect it. Like Hank called me out of the blue.
Okay, yeah, I never asked
Yeah,
you that
Hank
question.
had called me out of the blue. He just was just like he told me that Zach Harwood wanted to bring him in, and Zach
Mhm.
wanted to bring him in by himself. And he said, if I can't come in here with a team, I'm not coming.
Oh,
And
that's how I
so
went.
he was like, yo, yeah. And then he was just like, yo, meet us. It was someplace on like right there on 57th and like Fifth Avenue, right above I think Van Clean Bells, there was a space. I guess now those spaces are real popular, like the WeWork spaces and all of that. Back then
Yeah.
it wasn't popular, but it was one of those like conference rooms that you could rent. And me, Fox, all of us was in there. He had brought us all in. He was just like, I can't go in there by myself. Like they want me to go in there by myself, and then I'm gonna have to deal with all them. I told him if I'm coming in, I'm bringing a team. So he brought David Halston and all the rest of them in, and brought me and Jeff and all the rest of us in. And I brought
Oh,
Bilal in.
on you bought Balalin. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I called you, I think, before the holidays, and I told you that I was going for my doctorate, and
Right.
I wrote a book that I was publishing, and my focus at the time was censorship in hip hop, and the FCC as being one of the causes. And what I
Right.
realized through my research, it wasn't a cause; it was a major impact for the
Right.
economic and psychosocial effects of the culture and for artists, and thank you for being part of the book for me and your
Oh,
input.
absolutely.
So I wanted us to start off with some of the questions from there, if you don't mind.
Oh no, I don't mind at all.
Okay. So let's start off with my first question, and it is: hip hop has always been a voice for the voiceless, but
Right.
censorship often tried to silence that voice. So, what are your thoughts on how censorship through the FCC, especially during the 90s and the 2000 era, helped shape some of the messages that artists delivered?
I think it's interesting because I don't really think it stopped people from talking, but I think it kind of the only way I can really describe it is because I work in tech. It's like a firewall, right? And so it kind of put folks, meaning hip hop artists, rappers, behind a firewall where now what they were saying could be judged, and I mean I have to call it what it is, manipulated.
Hmm.
So it started because I was part of that first group, right? I was part of that first group of when the stickers came out, right?
Yes, parentals, parent-
When yeah, like when they start doing the parental stickers, and I remember because I was doing campaigns. Um, I think I was signed to Tommy Boy at the time, and I'm almost sure that Bill Adler was my publicist at that time. And so Bill had me going out, and we was doing all these conversations with people about censorship and what the stickers meant and all of that. And so in the very beginning, all it was, young kids shouldn't be hearing adult material. And
right,
rappers had, a tendency to lean that way. Now, we wasn't always doing it because a whole bunch of people was not cursing on records and all of that kind of stuff. But it was, if it was adult material, we need to draw a line here. At least that was that's at least what was told. We need to draw a line here because young kids are going to be hearing something that they shouldn't be hearing. When I fast forward to 2025, young kids hear a whole bunch of stuff they shouldn't hear. So it seemed to me that censorship, in terms of like just industry promoted and induced censorship, wasn't as much of what that original idea people was talking about. But what it seemed like it was is now something to keep somebody behind a firewall. So now that line is there. So now you could say what comes on the other side of it doesn't come on the other side of it. And the whole purpose of it seemed to be wasted. Because, like I said, nowadays I'm hearing 14 and 15-year-olds listening to stuff that I know that they shouldn't be hearing. Yeah,
right.
and so
Yes,
it's just a very interesting concept. I'm not, I tell my friends, all my friends, this. I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. When cats come to me with that Illuminati stuff, I say, man, go talk to somebody else about that. I'm not there. But if I was, or if I was thinking conspiracies, probably the first thing I would probably mention would be censorship, because it
yes,
just seemed like it was a hoax. Like, yeah, we're saying that we're doing this to protect these kids, but what we're really doing is now we have control of the music, we have control of the messages, we have control of all of that. It's because it's all behind the firewall. I remember, um, I produced Top Billing for the Audio 2, and I remember why one of the bigger reasons why the Audio 2 never blew up. Like, if you talk to somebody and talk about Milk D or talk about the Audio 2, they only gonna say Top Billing. Nobody knows nothing else. And that's because Milk has said the word faggot in one of his records, and there was a big protest in front of Atlantic Records and all of that when they came out, and it seemed like the Audio 2 was just shut down because of one word. You know what I mean? And so
yeah,
that's what I mean by that. I feel like it gave the industry, if I could call it that, it gave the industry more control over the music. It didn't stop nothing. It just gave them more control over the music. And so then weird things started happening. Like, I remember going to see that boy, I think his name is JP, but I can't remember. But he's A&R dude. He might still be working for labels. But I remember going to see him one time, and I was talking to him about something totally different. But I was waiting for him, and I'll never forget hearing his intern pick up a phone and asking the person, and joking, because it was a couple of other kids around him, and putting the guy on the speakerphone and asking the guy, where's your street cred? Have you ever been to jail? Have you ever been to, and I was like, is that
wow.
what this is turning into? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And it just got weird. So I
Yeah,
feel like it did form some stuff, but it was more, I don't know, it seemed like a more of a protective measure for them. And then the proof of that would be 2025.
so pulling on what you just said, do you think that censorship during this time was rooted in protecting certain social values, or was it more about controlling the narrative of marginalized
I think it
communities?
was about control. I definitely think it was about controlling the narrative because the social values was never protected. Like hip hop's cultural value was never protected. It
Never.
was never. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's why this dumb. I mean, I think it's dumb as hell. This dumb argument between Lord Jamar and Fat Joe was happening because the cultural element was never protected. I tell people this all the time because I think it's important to know. Hip hop was already a culture without the rappers. Everybody, most people outside of New York was turned on to hip hop from the music. God bless you. But hip hop was a culture before anybody ever picked up a mic. Cats was already writing on the walls. Cats was already breakdancing, and Cats was already playing music. So that's where a lot of that argument even gets convoluted because it wasn't just Black Americans writing on the
Right, or
walls.
dancing or
And
breakdancing
it
and
what
all that stuff. Yeah.
and think about, and if you think about the first break beats, they were all Afro-Cuban break beats. The bongo band and all the rest of that. Before Cowboy picked up a mic, before Coke Rock picked up a mic, before Hollywood picked up a mic. You know what I mean? But that part of the culture was never protected. Never. And so when rap came along, the MC took off, which I still don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Remember, I came with hearing the DJ's name first. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. You know, I used to always say the DJ's name first, even with when Will and them came out, it was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. It wasn't Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff because the DJ was always first because the DJs was the guys in the beginning. The DJs was the guys with the equipment that went out and all of that stuff. So when the rap took over and the music part took over, that's when a lot of all of that, control and all of that came in because I don't know if you could have boxed them graffiti writers in. I don't know if you could have boxed them break dancers in or them DJs in, but the rappers got boxed in real quick. And then we were fools. You know what I mean? I say it all the time. I get in trouble all the time because I tell my peers we dropped the ball. And they look at me like, oh, Daddy, you just talking about shit. I wasn't signed to Flash in them. I wasn't signed to Bambaataa. So who dropped the ball? Why don't we control the narrative? Because we dropped the ball.
Yes.
And so that's where all the rest of that come in. And that's why censorship could do what it did because hey, look, you know how it is. If you don't present what the idea is, somebody's gonna fill that space and say, well, it was this, even if it wasn't that, because you never told nobody what it really was. Right. So years down the line, that's why people argue about Eminem and all of them. I tell people this all the time. Record companies were afraid to sign Search because they didn't think he was going to do nothing. They was afraid to sign a white boy. You know what I mean? But down the line, Eminem's going to go down as one of the greatest to ever do it. Now, I'm not saying he's not good, but I'm just saying that we didn't hold it, so that cultural narrative of hip hop was never protected.
Correct. So, as an artist who's lived through the different eras of hip hop, how have you seen the rules around censorship change over time?
I think it's almost a non-existent thing right now. When I work with my tech company and me and my man are driving to work in the morning, if I'm on my own, I'm listening to something else. Like today I'm driving, I'm listening to Super Rapping by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. But when I'm with him, we do all the modern stuff. So we do the Breakfast Club and we do all of that. And I'm listening to some of this music with him in the morning and I'm going, man, if somebody had a 6 or 7 year old in this car and they hearing this is crazy.
Right.
And the hard part is it's melodic. right? So it's not like when we were rapping. You know, because like I said, I'm listening to these old rap records, 1979, 1980 rap records. Little kids couldn't even get a whiff of that because it was too advanced for them.
Yeah, it was too
You know,
much.
I'm listening to some old Treacherous 3. It's no way in the world a little kid could have did what Mo D and was doing on new rap language. No way. But doing what Future does is real easy. No disrespect to Future, but that's just true. You know what I'm saying? Doing what Thugger does or doing what Megan does, real easy because they ABCing. And so now the little kids, it's weird to me because although censorship was supposed to protect certain things, listen, I remember being, you know, and I don't mind telling my age, but I remember when I was a little kid, the Isley Brothers made a record called Fight the Power. And on that record, Ronald Isley said, all this bullshit going down. And that was a big deal. It was a big deal that he said bullshit. They had to censor it. They had to do all of that and then move forward. So when we started rapping, Run used to want to curse more on his records. Russell said no. LL used to want to curse more on his records. Russell said no. Chuck D wanted to curse more on his records. Russell and them said no. Now you could say bitch openly. You could say all of those things open.
So Russell,
so that's weird.
Yeah, because Russell did his own form of censorship for his own artists, basically.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, look, that happened to me too. I remember Stetsasonic made a record called In Full Gear. That's the album, but the title cut is called In Full Gear. I have a line on that record where I go, "You little maggot, where's your integrity?" I originally wrote, "You little faggot, where's your integrity?" And Tommy Boy made me change it.
Yeah. Remember those artists? We talked about this. Them lyric pages. Those lyric pages.
Yeah, I mean, I never forget. So after the Milk D thing was the first time I heard somebody say, you gotta turn in the lyrics before the album comes out. And then when me and you working at MCA, Alicia used to always say, Daddy-o, I can't put this record out until I get all the lyrics. I get all the lyric sheets. And that was all part of that censorship movement, you know, somebody trying to figure it out. So it's weird because I mean, I don't want to get in trouble, but it's weird because you got on one end somebody, you say faggot, which I got gay married friends that I say faggot to, and they know what I mean.
Right.
They know I mean some punk, they know I ain't talking nothing about their sexuality at all. And we never was saying, when we say you faggot, we never was talking about nobody's sexuality. We're talking about how soft you are, how complacent you were, all of that kind of stuff. Faggot can't get in, but bitch can. Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So let's talk about artists being banned from the radio. And I know we already established that Stetsasonic as a band really didn't have any problems as it related to censorship of the band themselves. But how do you feel about the influence of radio and streaming platforms dictating what was quote unquote acceptable or mainstream artists? Because they're not artist friendly. They're not radio friendly.
I mean, I feel horrible about it, but the Daddy-o position is always a little rebel because I feel like we let that happen. I don't think it's a great thing that they did that. Yeah, I don't think it's a great thing that they do that. I don't think that they should have ever had any control over what we were saying, what we were trying to put out, or the messages and all of that. I don't think any of that should have ever happened, but I say we allowed it to happen. And so now when you know, it's similar to my that conversation that I have with people when people say, what's the difference between a rapper and an MC? And I said, we all became rappers when we went in the booth.
Wow.
Once we became recorded medium, you can't differentiate yourself from the rest of them. Now, if you was never gonna be in the booth, you could be an MC all you want. But once you went in the booth, you had to now deal with all of the rules, regulations, laws. I could go on, but every guideline that the recording industry was going by, now you was part of that. So, and there wasn't no internet. This is a different time, at at, before the internet actually ends up really getting shut down or whatever. And that hasn't happened yet, thank God. But this is a different time because people do get a chance. These little kids done found SoundCloud, and if you shut SoundCloud down, they'll find something else, and they done
No,
find
yeah,
something else. They little things out, but we didn't
yeah,
have that. So now we are part of the official music industry, and we had to deal with those things. And yeah, of course, they took control. But I mean, if you hand somebody the key, what you expect them to do? Not open the door?
that's true. Amen to that. Are there any artists that you feel that were unfairly shut out from mainstream platforms, but whose contributions to hip hop were game changing?
I think the blackest record that was ever made was the X Clan record. People talk about Harris, people talk about Public Enemy, people talk about KRS One. You might even hear some of that political talk about Stetson Sonic. I think we did some great records. We did Freedom of Death, we did Africa, we participated in self-destruction. But X Clan made the blackest record ever. I mean, they really talked about everything that was going on. And they, although the album went gold, they really was shut out in the mainstream, pretty heavily. And I mean, it's a few of them that just it wasn't even. I don't even know why some of the people got shut out, but they
Hmm.
just did. You know what
Just
I mean? And it wasn't only a lot of times people say, oh, it's because they was talking the truth. Some of them, it wasn't even that they was that political, but they still got shut out. But I mean, the thing that comes to front of my mind all the time is excellent. I always think about how great, how
of a,
impactful that record was to me, and how yes, they got a little, Ralph McDaniels was out, so of course, they
but
got
they
the
never got their
video music
flowers
box
the way
and
they
all.
deserved it. Yeah,
Yeah, but and it never, like, I mean, they should have been just as big as Public Enemy or anybody else.
I agree with you with that. Extremely lyrically inept and great for the culture. So
Right.
the other
Yep.
part that I want to swerve to now is you're one of the artists that
Mm-hmm.
I applaud because you have always embraced the new generation. And there's always been this big, and I've called it the intergenerational divide in hip hop, and how our era does not seem to embrace, not, and I can't say everyone, of course, but there's a
Right.
divide, right? That we've created, and we don't seem to still to this day have mended. So I want to talk about this intergenerational divide. And so there's often been tension between older and younger generations of hip hop. And why do you think that divide exists, and how can it be bridged?
I think it exists because, and I'm gonna just talk, like a Brownsville person, because most of us old niggas are jealous and bitter. You know what I mean? I seen a guy. I was making a movie with Mark Soroff, which today I still think is one of the best hip hop movies to ever be made. Bones Malone is the principal in it. He's the narrator, and it's called We Got Your Kids, and it's a hip hop movie. And I remember an old school prominent artist coming in the studio that we were working, because we had to interview everybody. And this person for 20 minutes cursed out 50 Cent. For 20 minutes, walked in and started talking about 50 crazy. That's when 50 was blowing. It was right after Wankster. And you could see it was getting ready to go. And then I looked at him and I said, do you know him? And he said no. And it really hurt me.
Yeah.
Because I don't mind you talking crap about somebody if you know them, because that's a different story. Because I do that, but I say, hey, I would say it to his face. He ain't here, but I would say it to his face. But you don't even know this person, and so I think um often, not always, but often, the first people, the creators, the people that often they don't get the props of the people that go down the line and perfect the thing. Often that happens all the time with all types of stuff. LeBron's making, even though Jordan made money, I mean, Jordan's killing it with the shoes, but LeBron, as far as his purse is concerned, playing basketball, he's making more than Jordan made. And I mean, I could go on and on about industries of people that were incredible, that started it, but down the line, somebody else perfected it and made more money. So I think that that's the first thing. I think money became the real root of it, to see some of these young kids getting the money that you didn't get, you know, to know that a guy like Drake could go on stage and do $750 a night and you never seen $750 in your life. To accumulated efforts. You know what I mean? So I think jealousy started it. And then I think that it's weird, right? I came to a conclusion. I'm not finished with it, but I'm still drawing a conclusion. I wonder how many of us, meaning you call us old school, you could call us classic hip hop, whatever you want to call it. Most of the time, when I talk about my crew, right? I call us 80s rappers, because I call Nas and Mobb Deep and all of them 90s rappers. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the 80s guys, right? I wonder how many of us got into it to be musicians, because it bothers me. Like, for instance, I got 6 albums out right now. I'm sitting on 4. Just did a new step record. Like, because as a musician, I have to mirror James Brown. I have to mirror Stevie Wonder. I have to mirror Shaka Khan. I have to mirror Natalie Cole. Like that, those are my heroes, right? So I gotta do, you know, I'm listening to a Shaka album and I'm like, oh, I gotta try to do something. Now I'm rapping, she's singing, but I still want to be a musician. And I always say this. I always talk about Me and Delight, because, you know, that's the founders of Stetsasonic. And I always say Me and Delight called it hip hop because they called it hip hop. What do I mean by that? I mean those guys in the Bronx. All we ever thought was that we were an extension of the black music that came before us. So we make, even to this day, you listen to the new Stet album, we're making music. And I wonder how many of my crew got into it to be musicians, because if you in it to be a musician, then why wouldn't you still be making records? And why wouldn't you start still trying to advance your style? You know, why would you sound like you sound? Hey, I love the old Daddy-O. I say this all the time. I love the old Daddy-O, but the new Daddy-O will smoke his fucking boots.
Yeah, you don't
There's
want to
no
stay
way. No,
to
you don't want to. And so that's another thing. I'm still answering that same question. That's another thing, that non-advancement, that non-musicianship, that all of that, of course, it's gonna make you bitter with these young people, because you're gonna feel like they not even, like, you look at a Soldier Boy and you're gonna say, oh, he's doing nothing. You know, or you look at a Young Thug and you say, oh, he's doing nothing. And you're not gonna understand them and their flow and their advancement and what they talk about and why they feel these kind of beats that they feel and all of that, because you're not being a musician.
Right.
You're being some old hater rappers dude. And then what I think we could do, I don't think we got a pony in the game unless we rap. That's how I feel. I feel like a young person, you know, God bless blogs, vlogs, whatever people do, interviews, all of those things. All of those things are cool. All of those things are cool. I like the opportunity that me and Doggy Diamonds is friends, and me and Sway is friends, and I could go up there and talk to Rosenberg and them and talk about stories with Foxy and all of that. I like that I could do that, but I don't think young people, I'm talking rappers now, are gonna respect me if I can't spit right now, because it's just gonna look like I'm just an old dude that used to spit back in the day, you know.
Right.
Summer Walker has to respect Shaka. She's got to respect I could go a little more modern than Shaka. She's got to respect Brandy. She's got to respect Monica, because if she get in a room with them, they're gonna show what they could do, and
So you
that's
feel,
one of the.
so you feel it's an evolution of the culture and that the younger artists do respect.
I think they do when they learn about it, but we have created such a divide that it's not their fault that they don't know about us. If you was rapping in 79, I started rapping in 79. If you was rapping in 79, then I'm just gonna I'm gonna do Daddy-O because it's easy, right? You rapping in 79, and then you rapping in 81, and then 82 you form a group, and then you put out your first record in 84, and then by 88 you popping, you touring the world, you boom boom boom. You slow down around 91 and you don't make nothing else. Now that's not my reality, but you don't make nothing else. Some of those records you made are classics. They still might rock in the club today. They still might be the #1 old school jam. They still might be all of that, but you don't make nothing new. And then you stand there and just want to be respected for that. When nowadays it's all about rapid fire repeat. You talking about a guy like NBA Youngboy that might put out 8 albums a year. He's looking at you like you. It just doesn't make sense to them. It's not. They're not computing because I'm looking at. I'm in a hotel room right now. I'm looking at my studio. I'm looking at it. Okay, I take my studio everywhere I go. It fit damn near in my backpack. Besides for my speakers, and literally I don't have to bring my speakers because I can HDMI out into this damn TV that the hotel got. So I literally can have a studio in a backpack. All of these kids know that, and they looking at you like, nigga, you an old man and you waiting to get in the studio. What the hell is wrong with you? So I don't think we have a pony in the game unless we rap. You know, and I'm not saying rap to make money. I'm not saying to do that. You got to show them that you could hang with them. You got to show them that you could spit with them. And then I think it's all gravy after that.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's just a communication, but we have to step up to the table too. We can't just be on our.
We do. We really do. And we got it the worst. I'm talking about us, the 80s guys. We got it the worst. And I can mention names. I'm not going to do it, but I can mention names. The 90s guys are cool. Like people still love the Nas's of the world. You know, I know only half of Mobb Deep is here, but they love them. Smith and Wesson get a lot of love. I can mention a ton of 90s dudes that get love because they embrace. I mean, to me, one of the best examples of that is Snoop.
Yeah.
You know, Snoop always embracing the young people. So yeah, he calling them nephew, they calling him uncle, but they still love him. You know what I mean? But, so the 90s guys are not disconnected, but us 80s guys, we're disconnected.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to emerging artists about staying true to themselves while navigating industry pressures?
Well, the one thing I will say is that different world, right? So they're not in the world that I was in. They don't have to do us against the world. They don't have to do radio doesn't like you. They don't have to do people are saying you're not making music. They don't have to do all of those particular things. So I don't think that they have to be as pressured if they don't allow themselves to be pressured. But I do think that it's not, if you're making music, now if you're not making music, that's a different story. But if you're making music, one of the things that all great musicians will tell you is, and that's whether they're in the rap genre or not, is, you know, you want to make something that's timeless. You want to make something that when you hear it 10 years down the line, when you hear it 12 years down the line, when you hear it 18 years down the line, it still has an impact. It's still incredibly dope to listen to, and it doesn't sound so momentary. To do that, you have to study a little bit. I used to say it years ago, and I still say it's funny because I said this. I was saying this 40 years ago, which is weird to me because I'm still saying it. The music business is the only business that you see people get in that they think they don't have to do no studying. Person wants to be a carpenter, they know they not try to make a table out of cork. Person wants to be a welder, he know he can't make no damn gate out of aluminum. So because he's got to study those things, he's got to look through those things, he's got to figure those things out. The music business, yeah, and I've said this years ago, way pre-internet, pre-CD, all of that kind of stuff. The only business that I used to see people just try to come in and just think they just could walk in. So it's going to take some studying to be timeless, because unless you just want to get in, make money, and go into real estate, you could get in, make a hoop, there it is, and buy a bunch of buildings and be good. That's what you want to do. But if you actually want to last, you're going to have to do some studying. I mean, you know, I was just reading something just now. I feel bad for Ice Spice. I really do. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at it, because the what she just sold, I think it was like 8,000 records the first week. Like, it's just horrible. You know what I mean? But I also know that she's a person, I could listen to her music and know she ain't trying to be no legacy. You understand what I'm trying to say? And that becomes a problem in hip hop, because hip hop is such a cultural driven music. So they feel like, oh, I could do these things and I don't have to be a legacy. All I need to do is have a hit right now. And then what ends up happening is that they fade away. I tell people all the time, you know, legacy is a big deal, because people still and beyond NCIS and all of that, people still know who LL Cool J is. But if I say Rich Boy to you right now, or Hurricane Chris, you might not even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And when they had records out, who didn't want to be Throw Some D's? Who didn't want to be Hey Baby? I mean, they are blowing. It's the biggest thing ever. And then boom, over. Because no work, no work to put in that legacy work. And there's a handful of the guys that do it now, but not all of them. And you gotta think. You gotta think, and you gotta. So I mean, that's my only qualm, and that's the only thing that I would say to young artists is, like, if you jumping in just to make a little bit of money, you want to try to, you know, boom, and then go buy a used car lot, you know, God bless you, do that. But if you really want to stay and actually make an impact, you're gonna have to do a little bit of study.
Yeah. So here's our last final reflection. What do you want the next generation of artists and fans to understand about the challenges your generation faced in building this culture?
I think I don't know if I could boil it down, but I definitely think that I could say to, and I'm not trying to be blasphemous, because I know I'm not, you know, I'm not Dr. King, I'm not Malcolm X, I'm not James Baldwin, but paralleling that, all of those old school freedom fighters fought so, Rosa Parks, fought so we don't have to sit on the back of the bus, fought so we don't have to just, you know, drink in the Blackwater fountain. They fought for those things, for people's equality, right? And that's what we did in music, because in the very beginning, they told us we wasn't music, we wasn't gonna last, it was just a fad. Yeah. You know who the fad was? Disco was the fad. But you know, but they was embracing them damn disco artists. But when we came along, because we came right after disco, they told us, "Oh, y'all ain't gonna last," blah blah blah, and all of that. So we had things to fight. I say it all the time. The statement that I say all the time is, I just remember I listened to. I got a record I made called "We Survive," and I say all of that in that. I say, you know, when we were coming up, there was no such thing as home of hip hop and R&B. Radio hated us, so you would never hear radio say, "This is the home of hip hop and R&B." Maybe home of R&B, but not home of hip hop at all. You would never hear a radio station say that. I tell people all the time, God bless him because he's dead, but Frankie Crocker hated us.
Hated.
You know what I mean? Them guys ain't like us. Tyrone Williams tells a story of how Frankie Crocker, Barry Mayo, and a whole bunch of program directors got together when Tyrone was producing Mr. Magic Show, God bless his dad, and said, if y'all stop playing rap, we'll give you a bigger purse. We'll move you up on the radio station. So Pink House, I'm saying God did a lot, but Pink House in Chicago, Lady B, who's still around in Philadelphia, Greg Mack in LA, Mr. Magic in New York, those people just said, forget y'all. We're going to play rap. We're going to do these things. We're going to, do all of that. And that's what built us up. And, shout out to Red Alert and Chuck Chill Out and them because they still around. And those were the guys that just upheld it and said, yo, I'm going to do this because this is my culture. This is all of those things. So all of those people are like I said, not trying to be blasphemous, but they like the freedom fighters of hip hop. All of us are. And that's what I would like them to know is that we fought for Future to be on the radio 8 times a day, for Megan to be on the radio, for Glorilla to be on the radio. We fought to get you in that place. And also to understand this. I used to say this to people all the time, and I still say it. If we could get to a point where Gladys Knight is not on the radio anymore, you could be off the radio too.
Yep. Because
Gladys made #1 records without even trying.
Yeah.
But I mean, them records was them Midnight Train to Georgia, neither one of us, them records just blew on their own because of the type of talent it was, And if we could get to that point where, look, a few years ago, Tony Braxton made a record and Babyface produced it and radio didn't play it. That's crazy to me. Yeah. And that's just a few years back. I'm talking about brand new Tony Braxton record produced by Babyface. Radio just
success, right? And they didn't face it.
So that can happen to anybody. And again, like I said, I always use those. So I mean, there's more, but I always use the 2 examples of Rich Boy and Hurricane Chris, because I never forget when Hey Baby came out, how big that was. And I never forget when Throw Some D's came out, how big that was. And to know maybe Hurricane Chris does have money right now. Maybe Rich Boy does have money right now. Maybe. But you can't tell me when he was making those records that he didn't want to be around, that he didn't want to stay, that he didn't want to be the next thing. What ends up happening? The next Hurricane Chris record tanked. The next Rich Boy, that boy record tanked. You know what I mean? Like anything can happen between now and boom. And again, if you just in it for the cash right now, boom, but it can happen. And so you have to realize that people fought for that and then try to figure out like what to do next. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and it was interesting because she said she realizes that the people that make it are people who their parents sacrificed and broke down the walls so they could do it. Yeah, and that's what made it work for them, because the parents went through all the stressors and the strainers and figuring it out and filtering it out and boom, boom. So now they could guide that kid and say, hey, I mean, I guess probably LeBron James and Bronny is a great example. You know what I mean? Like, I beat down these walls so that you have an opportunity. So I think it's important for young people to just know that, just try to learn from those lessons, try to figure out what's in Snoop's head. Try to figure out what's in Andre 3000's head. Like, try to talk to these guys. Try to figure out, what you could do next and what are those things. And then that's one of the things I think the music, and again, I blame us. A lot of the music suffers because we're not involved, because you don't really see advances in culture without elders. That's in religion.
Culture suffers. No grandparents around anymore.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, but
Yes.
you got to be the right grandparent too. I told people when 2016, when I called, like a boxer picks up his gloves again. 2016, when I picked up the mic again, I always told people, I said there was two type of old men on our block. One type of old man on our block was drunk all the time. We give him a couple of dollars. He go in the store. He buy us liquor, all of that kind of stuff. We joke on him, all of that. The other kind of guy was when he walked down the block. If we was talking loud, we was quiet because we knew that he would. All he got to do is snap his finger, and the whole block could disappear. That's the old man I am. And that's what we have to do. We got to be. I don't get it when I'm around these young people, they respect me. First of all, I don't wear and I'm just calling them. I'm not gonna say who, but I don't wear clown suits and costumes when I walk the street. You know what I mean? The only reason I got this shirt on in here is because I'm in here in this hotel. You're not gonna see me go outside with a t-shirt with big old letters on it. I don't do that. I'm a grown man. It doesn't. It just and all of that makes a difference with young people. It always makes a difference with young people. Yes, you can. He could come in there with his Balenciagas on and his purple jeans or whatever, but when he see these gators, he gonna see these gators. My Rolex got a leather band. Right. He gonna have whatever flash, but he gonna look and say, "Wow, that's dope. That's classic."
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? I'm always gonna keep a haircut around these little niggas. Always. Yeah. It's important. You know what I mean? And I think there's a responsibility. I've been talking this for years. It's the responsibility that we really have to uphold, because without that, I don't know what we're gonna be looking at. I mean, no disrespect, and I think he's a great artist, but without that, Post Malone becomes the next hero. And that's real.
I want to thank you, Daddy-O, for always supporting me. You are amazing every time we talk, because you retain so much of our culture. Like, there's so many things about sometimes my career that I can't even remember, and then you just kind of bring it up, and I'm like, wow.
right. So, yeah. I love us. You know what I'm saying? I love us, and I love what we're about. I do miss like that kind of camaraderie that we had when we was at MCA, because I don't think artists I remember working with you, and I remember me being the A&R person and you being the marketing person, but I remember me and you sitting the artist down and saying, you understand? And no, but the thing is, they never felt that kind of love before.
Yeah.
And I really feel, I feel like that's missing right now. Like,
it is,
when I see kids going to jail,
we're not doing that no more. Yeah.
No. When these kids going to jail, when I see them shot, every time I see something happen and this one got shot and this now was in jail, and I'm like, what the hell? But there was nobody, there was no Camille there, there was no Daddy-O there to say, look, man, you need to slow down on that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I miss all that. I miss it. I mean, I'm not saying that it's over. I'm sure that as long as we alive, as long as we got, there's always opportunity. But I miss that kind of thing, because I think that the cultural aspect of what we are is really what's going to maintain us. When I look at anything else, like for instance, I never really listened to country music in the past, but then when I had moved out of New York, the first place I went was to Atlanta. And then when I set up shop in Atlanta, I had some interns in the studio. And one of my interns, Brian, was this little white kid. And he brought me his hard drive. And had all of this country. Like, I listened, and this is way before country blew up now. It's way pre-Uzi, all of that kind of stuff. And I got to listen to like all of these country artists and listen to it. And I noticed one thing with the country artists that they maintain the cultural aspect of it.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? And that is what keeps. Yes, it's a few little modern country things going on right now. Those things are not gonna last, but country's still gonna last.
Yeah, always. And
You
I love
know?
it. I love country.
Yeah.
I love it. Just
Yeah.
it's rooted, it has heavy roots, and it has a respect of tradition that we continue to
Absolutely.
lose. That we continue to
Absolutely.
lose. So
Yeah.
it's 2025. We can't wait for this book. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to
Okay.
edit. Like,
Gotta get
I
it the book.
did it. It's autobiographical. I got 3 or 4 books that I started. This one is finished.
Okay.
The other one's a little more philosophical. This one is a little more autobiographical. But there's a couple of things in there that I said that I probably either want to take out or rearrange, because I talked about a couple of people in there and they're not.
Yeah, it's always that weird space.
Yeah,
I kind of wanted to do a memoir of me as a woman, and then I'm like, that fine line where we were like, ugh,
yeah.
yeah.
So I just, but yeah, I'm working on. I'm working on a few things. I'm working on. I've been doing this for a couple of years, but we was in the beginning we were calling it self-destruction part 2. Now we're calling it stop self-destruction. I've been working on that.
Okay.
So it's a few things that I want to do. And that we're working on. So we get. I'm gonna get there. I'm trying to dedicate this year to really be, a self-starter year for me.
Awesome. I love you, brother. Thank
I
you
love
again.
you too.
You always
You're
here
welcome.
for me. I appreciate you.
All right.
Good night.
Talk to you soon. All right. Good night. Bye.